Hey there, I am D. As some of you might remember, in light of the movie Snow White and the Huntsman, I took a look at the original story by the brothers Grimm. And though I hoped I could compare the story to the more recent movie, it was... well, exactly that. Too recent, giving me too little material to work with. But now that I have this in my possession, it shouldn't be a problem anymore. Let's take a look. So we begin this movie with...
Once upon a time.
Just go with it, it'll be easier that way.
In deep winter, a queen was admiring the falling snow when she saw a rose blooming in defiance of the cold.
By the way, doesn't that voice sound familiar at all? It should, since the guy we're hearing has been making quite a name for himself lately. Which is also why he's in this movie himself. Which is a bit odd, and you'll soon see why. Here he exposits on how the Queen gave birth to a girl whom she named Snow White for all well-known and obvious reasons, whom she hoped to be just as defiant as that rose from before. And here's our first problem. What's the point of having Hemsworth narrating all this, while we can clearly see it all for ourselves? On top of that, why is he, of all people, narrating this? I mean, just listen to him.
And she was adored throughout the kingdom, as much for her defiant spirit as for her beauty.
Hearing him talk, it sounds like just a random farmer instead of an omniscient narrator. And if the narrator isn't supposed to be omniscient, then how could Hemsworth's character know any of these things that he's expositing? But trust me, that's the least of your concerns. Now, since Snow White was only 7 years old in the original story, of course there has to be some segments wherein she's exactly that old.
Here, thank you. William?
Foreshadowing. Foreshadowing. So anyway, the king, having just lost his wife, fights a, quote, dark army, unquote. But said army is easily subdued since all of the soldiers are... made of glass, apparently. And I hate Army of Darkness, so don't expect me to make any reference to that movie. Wait, I just did, just by mentioning the title. Damn it! With that army gone, the king finds himself a new bride. So Thrawn's character, yeah, I'm sure she has a name, but who's gonna remember that after the movie's over, eventually marries the king, kills him on the night of their wedding, and she immediately takes over the kingdom.
Welcome, brother.
It may be because I read this, but I get a distinct feeling that there's more going on between these two than simple sibling love. Well, their villains were supposed to be disgusted by them. So everyone flees, but are forced to leave Snow White behind. Meanwhile, the Queen, now claiming the castle as her own, has her special mirror being put into her new private quarters. Oh, Thrawn. Your acting will bring us so much joy throughout this movie. Unintentional joy, but joy nonetheless. So the Queen does her mirror, mirror on the wall thing, whereupon the mirror... Huh. That was pointless. I guess allowing that blob to just form a face made too much sense for all involved. Well, we all know what the mirror says in response, even though I strongly disagree with the notion of her being that pretty.
The land died, and with it, hope.
Never mind how that's supposed to work in her favor.
And all that time, she kept Snow White imprisoned, high up in the North Tower.
Why didn't she kill her? Don't get me wrong, it's not that I want Snow White to die, but... what motivation did she have to keep her alive? I'm sure it's explained later. Anyway, at long last we cut to several years later where we see Snow White, aged 18, played by Kristen Stewart. We see her trying to light a fire, barely surviving in her cell. Yeah, her reciting a Christian prayer will become particularly weird later, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Next, some random girl is locked in a cell opposite her and she tells Snow White that this queen absorbs younger girls' beauty so to sustain her own youth and health. Making me wonder why she hasn't done that to Snow White just yet. Barely a quarter way through, and it's already one plot hole after another. We then see the queen taking a bath in what looks like milk, while her brother watches. Which, other than creeping me out, serves no purpose to the movie whatsoever. I guess it was the director's excuse just to see Thrawn naked. Which is odd, considering he has a thing for younger girls, but hey, I'm just guessing. Anyway, the queen talks to her mirror again. Wow, I only just realized the symbolism behind that one.
My queen, on this day, one has come of age, fairer even than you.
What does that mean? That she was butt ugly the day before and became a model overnight? Never mind. Pray continue.
Who is it?
Snow White.
Should have killed her when she was a child.
But she is also your salvation queen. Take her heart in your hand, and you shall never again need to consume youth. You shall never again weaken or age.
Make no mistake. In the original story, it was mentioned that the queen wanted Snow White's heart. Why? Who knows? Maybe because she's related to Elizabeth Bathory. So I do like that this movie is trying to give the queen a reason to even want Snow White's heart in the first place. However, this talk with the mirror creates a plot hole so massive you can fit every single black hole in the whole universe in it and still have room to spare! I mean, think about it. Really think about it. The queen didn't know how important Snow White was to her until that moment. So in actual fact, she had no reason to keep her alive. At all. I realize this isn't the only plot hole, but since this plot point is the focal point of the entire movie, you'd think they'd be more careful. Why didn't the mirror, who's apparently all-knowing, prophesize the coming of Snow White, tell the queen how important she is, and thereby give her a reason to keep her alive? Every other problem in this movie is forgivable compared to this! But I've digressed too much already. Snow White finds an opportunity to escape her prison cell. She makes it out of the tower, but is quickly spotted. Luckily for her, there's another plot hole to help her escape. Defying all laws of physics, in typical movie fashion, she survives the fall, finds a conveniently ownerless horse and runs off. On her way, the horse gets stuck in the mud and... that looks familiar for some reason. Why, oh why?
She was chased into the dark forest, where the men lost her.
She's no good to me in the dark forest. Leave! I have no powers in the dark forest.
What? So it's not black magic that's keeping you alive? Or even if it is, shouldn't being in the dark forest technically be making you stronger? As it turned out, that was just an excuse so they'd have to hire the titular Huntsman. Neat.
You'll be money from my pocket!
seem to have drunk it all, but...
Yeah. Looking at him now, can you believe that that was our narrator at the beginning of the movie? So yeah, he's brought before the Queen.
My brother tells me you are a widower, a drunkard, and one of few who has ventured into the dark forest.
Aye.
One of my prisoners has escaped there.
And he's dead.
She.
She is certainly dead. Why is she of such value?
It is none of your concern.
I'll determine what concerns me, thank you.
You will do this for me, Huntsman!
Thrawn, are you trying to outshoot the Queen from that Disney movie? It worked in that one because it's an animation. In live action, it only comes off as comical. So much so, I'm not even sure if I should take you seriously as a villain.
So you wish to be reunited with your beloved. You know of my powers. Bring me the girl, and I will bring back your wife.
Of course, he's smarter than that, so he refuses. Oh, wait, spoke too soon. But wait a minute. Isn't that the Queen's brother? The magic that's keeping the Queen alive is the same magic that's keeping her brother alive. And if she loses her powers in the Dark Forest, doesn't that mean that her brother would too? No matter, what's one plot hole more or less? Anyway, the Huntsman finds her almost instantly, despite all the many dangers this forest supposedly has.
Quick work. Hey, well done, Huntsman. Hand her over. Where's my wife? My sister has many powers. She can't bring your wife back from the dead, you fool.
What a twist. Feeling betrayed, or like an idiot, it's kinda hard to tell, he fights the soldiers and takes off with her. Meanwhile, those people who fled the castle at the beginning of the movie, they receive news that Snow White is still alive. So when that news reaches her childhood friend, he joins the Queen's brother in his search for her. Hang on! So we have a character, portrayed by Kristen Stewart, who has one man watching over her, and at the same time one childhood friend, giving her not one, but two possible love interests? That doesn't sound familiar at all! But to this movie's credit, while she's still the damsel that needs to be protected, she is willing to risk her own life to save others. I mean, she even stands before a troll, with complete disregard for her own life. Can you imagine Bella Swan doing that? If your answer is yes, I know a good shrink who can help you. So the characters eventually escape the Dark Forest, only to be captured by the dwarves. I was surprised to see they even had a role in this movie, but whatever.
This is our lucky day.
Is this how you treat a friend?
No, you buttock. This is how I treat a friend. As an errand apprentice or captive?
This man is helping me.
We should kill him both. Yeah, his goes is nothing but trouble.
So rather than having one who's happy, one who's dopey, one who's bashful, or one who's sneezy, they're all just grumpy. So Snow White Klaatu Barada Niktos her way out of this, and they take off to... Cthulhu's Nightmare.
Where are we?
They call it Sanctuary, milady. It's the home of the fairies.
And vampires, and werewolves, and Bigfoot, and... Oh, wait, wrong sanctuary. So they spent the night there when...
I feel peculiar. Queer almost.
What? Since when?
I won't single it all over, but I feel lovely. I feel lovely. Yeah. There's your gas.
Gal? What? bit better. And my cough.
This is her doing.
And yet Bob Hoskins still can't see? Everyone else is cured of their ailments and yet Hoskins' character remains blind? Did they get the writers of Quest for Camelot to write this movie? The next morning, something seems to be calling Snow White and she sets out to find... Are we watching Bambi now?
He's blessing her.
What are you talking about?
You have eyes, Huntsman, but you do not see. You who have been with her the longest. She is life itself. She will heal the land. She is the one.
As long as she isn't the two. Oh good, we're back in action. So the characters start running for their lives while the stag... if that stag was just a bunch of moths clinging to each other, shouldn't that arrow have just shot clean through it? So we have ourselves a fight/chase scene which results into Snow White being reunited with her childhood friend, the death of dwarf number 8, whom we barely knew anyway, so what's the difference? And the death of the Queen's brother, which she of course senses. So after dwarf number 8 is cremated, the characters march on. By the way, tell me this montage doesn't look familiar at all. Eventually, Snow White has some alone time with her friend.
How do I inspire? How will I lead men?
The way you led me when we were children.
It's not how I remember it.
Gee, could it be the apple? It can't be, because it's not the Queen that is giving it to her. I mean, this so obviously isn't a trap, so there's no way that... Psych! That came completely out of nowhere! At least she was fooled only once, instead of 3 times, like in the original story. So instead of, I don't know, spitting out the apple, she keeps choking on it, allowing the Queen to take her true form. Of course the heroes arrive to chase her off, but it's already too late. So they finally arrive at a castle, carrying Snow White's remains. After being made ready for a burial, we hear the Huntsman making the same speech we've heard dozens of times before. How he was once married and never loved anyone else again until he met Snow White and blah blah blah. Now, I do remember after seeing this movie in the theaters, I overheard some girls saying that Snow White and the Huntsman don't belong together. But I don't know, Stewart herself doesn't mind being kissed by older men. So of course she wakes up and walks among the people again. So yeah, she's basically Jesus in this universe. But if she's Jesus, then how could she be reciting a Christian prayer earlier? We then have the mandatory motivational speech, which, quite frankly, doesn't make much sense.
Iron will melt. But it will writhe inside of itself. All these years, all I've known is darkness. But I have never seen a brighter light than when my eyes just opened. And I know that light burns in all of you. Those embers must turn to flame. Iron into sword. I will become your weapon. And who will ride with me? Who will be my brother?
Apparently it's good enough for these idiots, so let's just go with it. So everyone suits up, including Snow White, who's finally wearing that suit of armor we see on the posters. They manage to storm the castle, confront the Queen, and using the one fighting move that the Huntsman taught her earlier in the movie, she finally kills the queen and is then crowned queen herself. The end. And that was Snow White and the Huntsman. It's hard to summarize in a few words. Sure, it has a few cliches and massive plot holes that can't be overlooked, but the point behind this movie was to make a Lord of the Rings version of an even older tale. And I think they did manage to do exactly that. The movie was entertaining, it had some nice effects and some great battles. So, while I wouldn't put it high on my list of recommendations, this movie is still worth your while. This was D. I'm signing off.